Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Robert Barr, and I'm pleased that you're joining me and one another for this streaming Shabbat service. This is a time for us to pause and to catch our breath. We are living in difficult and in challenging times, and we need a moment to think, to reflect, to pause. So put away the pencil and the paper, put away the notebook and the keys, set aside the shovel and hammer. Rest. For this interval, no buying, no selling, no working, no laboring, no straining, not living in the past, not planning for the future. This is a time for celebration, for joy, for mirth. We are here alive to rejoice in another Sabbath, another opportunity to be together, grateful for our family and our friends. With no distractions, we touch and are touched, the great gift of the Sabbath. Again, I'm Rabbi Robert Barr of Congregation Beth Adam. That's our bricks and mortar congregation here in Loveland, Ohio. That's part of Greater Cincinnati and our Jewish community. That's our online initiative, which we began about 15 years ago. Being online afforded us the opportunity to remain connected with members who moved to different cities, students who were educated here but went off to college and went off to jobs around the country, to connect with people around the world who learned about Beth Adam either through a website, perhaps they read about us, or perhaps they came and visited us for a bar or bat mitzvah. So we connected with people, and they are part of our community. You're part of our community. Technology has allowed us to do that. It's allowed us to create this amazing web to connect people together. But we also recognize that while that's important, it really ultimately is our message that is core to who we are and what we do, our mission, our vision, our values. You can go to our website and read them. We are a congregation of over 40 years old that believes that we need to have a bold, dynamic Jewish voice. We're not our ancestors. We're different than they were. They had different issues and needs than we did. They did different information and different understandings. We don't need to mimic what they did. We don't need to parrot what they did. We can respect it and recognize it was reflective of who they were. But now we need to have a Judaism reflective of who we are, what we believe, what we understand, our insights into the world. And that's what we've been doing here. That's why we create new services, new liturgy, reflective of our values. We believe we should say what we mean and mean what we say, and should be part of the service. It should be part of the way we educate our children and our adults. That's what this congregation has been doing for over 40 years. We're thinking about, what are we going to leave future generations? That's our responsibility. And I'm glad you're participating with me and with one another this evening in this journey that we have been on. Being online affords us opportunities. I can record conversations and then bring them into our service. You don't have to watch our services at 7 o'clock when they stream. You can watch them when they're convenient. You can be online. I know folks are online right now on bethadam.org. They like to chat. You're welcome to join bethadam.org and go to the streaming service and do that. If you're on one of our Facebook pages, either the Beth Adam Facebook page or the Our Jewish Community Facebook page, leave us a note. Let us know where you're participating from. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad we can take this time together this Shabbat to pause and to be together. So we're going to continue our service with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. On this Shabbat, we create our moment in time. We pause to reflect upon our yesterdays and tomorrows, to renew our ties with families and friends, to restore our energies, to refresh our spirits. As the sun descends and shadows lengthen, the distraction of the day gives way to the stillness of night. It's time now for us to see not with our eyes, but with our hearts and our minds. As the day gives way to evening, it's time for us to welcome the Shabbat. The candles stand before us waiting to be lit. We recall our ancestors as we too seek to dispel the darkness and banish the cold, to bring glowing softness, warmth, and safety into our homes. May the dancing flames of these candles kindle warmth within our hearts, wisdom in our minds, passion in our souls. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or b'Shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath. In time, disturbances will pass, difficulties will dissolve. In time, aggravations will be forgotten, obstacles will be overcome. In time, we will find solutions even to our most pressing concerns. Mountains move and even disappear. Clouds part, revealing an ever-present sun. In time, moments of desperation will give way to an inner calm, and through others, we will find comfort for our fears. In time, may we find ways to accept life's unending turbulence completely and move gently forward in time. As I'm sure many of you know, I've announced my retirement. The congregation has been in the process of searching for a new rabbi. We've hired Rabbi Lauren Werber, and I wanted to talk with Maureen Marks, who chaired our rabbinic search committee, to remind us of how we got to the place we're at, how Rabbi Werber was selected, all the different people involved, and then talk about upcoming events. So this is a conversation that I had with her actually not too long ago. So I am pleased that Maureen Marks is sharing this evening with us to talk about what's been happening at Congregation Beth Adam. Maureen has chaired the Rabbinic Search Committee, and I invited her to join me this evening because we're sort of coming to another juncture point. So Thanks, Maureen, for joining us.
And thank you for having me.
Can you just remind us how we got here? When I announced my retirement, that I was going to be retiring, so what were the steps that were taken and the actions and the committees and the process?
Well, you've been talking about your retirement for 10 years, so I'm not going to go back quite that far. But I've been thinking about this whole process in like 3 phases. So phase 1 really started for me in February of 22, when the then president of the board, Rachel Smith, asked me if I would consider chairing the search committee. You had set a firm date of, June 30th of 25 is your retirement date. And you were, that gave us the luxury of having quite a long runway to be able to do the search. Mm-hmm. And so phase 1 for me was really getting on board as, the search committee chair, starting to work with the consultant. The board had hired a professional consultant, Debbie Joseph. And so I started meeting with her and Marcy Strasser as head of the personnel committee, and Rachel Smith as the board president at that time. And we started just talking through with Debbie Joseph, what all needed to be involved, what we had to plan for, who to think about for the search committee members, how many people, developing a charter that the board could sign off on that made it clear what the roles and responsibilities would be for the board, for the search chair, for the committee members. And so that kind of phase 1 process was getting all of that together. And then, so that was all the prep work. Phase 2 was really, for me, once we got all of the members on board. We had a group of, I think we started with 9. I think we started with 9 people. We had one person who had to drop out because it was just too much. It was very time intensive. But we ended up having 8 of us, including Melissa Weiss. We wanted to have a staff representative on the search committee. So she was a non-voting member. And then we had ended up with 7 voting members. And so then that phase 2 was really kind of setting up our team, having work groups identified to handle different pieces of the process. So we had engagement, because we knew we wanted to really engage the congregation. We had recruitment and selection. work group that was going to be working on, developing the job posting, thinking about the interview process, coming up with those kinds of plans. And then the transition, we knew we wanted to have a focus on kind of cultural transition, not the actual onboarding of the job, but how do we help acculturate a new rabbi, and how do we make sure that we pay tribute to you properly, and in a way that was going to be meaningful for all of us. And so we had a cultural transition team, and we named different members to be the head of each of those. Right. And so then it was the engagement piece was the first piece we really focused on. And we had our kickoff meeting in October of 22. Wow. With the whole congregation, at Adult Ed. So anybody who was interested came to that Adult Ed, and we, laid out, this is who the search committee is. Here's how our process is going to roll. Here's how you can be involved. And we recorded that, and so that was available to people on the website. And then we started getting the engagement survey process going. And luckily, we, had Carolyn Gilbert in charge of that. And, she owns her own market research firm, so she does this kind of work all the time. And so she was just fantastic to work with. And, we did focus groups, to get qualitative information, so we knew what it was that people were thinking about, the kinds of language they were using as they were thinking about the transition and finding a new rabbi, the kinds of things they were looking for in a new rabbi, what they wanted to keep, what they were interested in maybe growing and evolving. And so we used all of that information to build the survey. And then the survey was launched. I think it was February and March. We had it out to the congregation. The link went to everybody. We did multiple reminders. And we ended up having over a 40% response rate, which is really very good. Those of us who are, kind of have survey stuff in their day jobs, private surveys are usually, if you get 30%, you're doing really well. So we were really happy about that. In April, we had another Adult Ed where we fed the results back to the congregation, and we, presented what that looked like, what people were saying. We showed it by different demographics, so that, it was clear that we were looking at it through different lenses, so that we could make sure that, that the information was going to help inform our process and how, kind of our screening of candidates in a way that was going to ensure that we would be meeting the needs of our different kind of constituent groups within the congregation. So that was incredibly helpful, and it actually really had a big influence on the kinds of questions we asked candidates, the way we wrote the posting to advertise for the position, and so was really grateful to the congregation for their involvement in that. So part of phase 2 then was also this recruitment and selection piece. Rachel Faust and Ken Weiss were leading that part, and so they really kind of got us going in terms of getting identifying what we wanted to include in the posting, how we wanted to think about that, helped kind of figure out the platforms we wanted to advertise on, and Debbie Joseph, was super helpful through all of that. And we had Jay Gilbert and Alan Brown help us with the actual writing of because Jay's an incredible commercial writer in his, what his day job was. And Alan, of course, has done so much for the graphics and advertising for Beth Adam. So they were both incredibly helpful in getting the job posting done, and in the shape we wanted it. And then that went live middle of August, I think. So we stayed on time, and middle of August, the posting went live. We had it on multiple platforms, and we also sent it to particular rabbis, including like Rabbi Lewis and other folks that you knew in your network. And we ended up getting, I think, about 12 candidates. 12 people applied.
And That's right now. I mean, sometimes people are probably reading about rabbi shortages, and there's been a couple
Mm-hmm.
articles about that. So to get
Mm-hmm.
that kind of response was really very good. I mean, that's
Yeah, we weren't sure. We didn't know what we were going to get. And so starting like I said, it went live like mid-ish August, maybe a little earlier than that in August. And by the end of the month, we had a couple people already who had applied. And we took applications into like early October. And we landed on 4 candidates that we knew we wanted to have an interview with. So our interview process started in October of 22, and we had 2 rounds of Zoom interviews. So we did the first round of Zoom interviews. We interviewed 4 candidates. There were 3 of those that we wanted to have for a second interview. So we did that second round of Zoom interviews in the November timeframe. And then we ended up wanting all 3 of them to come in for in-person interviews at the congregation. And all of those we had 2 weekends in December and then the first weekend in January. And we had our 3 candidates come in, and we had surveys that the congregation could fill out after each candidate's weekend. And we also had Danielle Minson, the head of Jewish Federation, and
Brian Jaffe.
Brian Jaffe, head of Foundation. They interviewed all of our candidates as well when they were in town, and they gave us feedback. Rabbi Lewis interviewed all of them. You interviewed all of them. Melissa Weiss interviewed all of them. They did a presentation for the congregation. They met with the board for lunch and had a conversation with the board. Had dinner with me and Marcy Rosenston, who was then president and still is president of the board, and Paul Korn as treasurer. We had dinner with them, and then they would have individual interviews on that Monday of the weekend they were here. And so we got lots of feedback and had lots of different kind of interactions with them. And the feedback we got from the congregation through the online surveys were super helpful. Right. And we were able, again, Carolyn was really, really great at being able to aggregate all of that data so that we could look very clearly at, what the final kind of rankings were. And the congregation all lined up, kind of with, in line with what the search committee where we ended up landing, with Rabbi Lauren Werber as our candidate. And, so now we're in phase 3, which is doing all the transition events, getting all of those transition events.
And I just want to remind folks too, because I announced that that I would be my final date would be June of 2025, but we went into the process with the thought that if for some reason in this first year going out looking, we couldn't find anyone, we had a second year. But we also, the congregation was prepared to hire a person if it was the right person, and everyone went, "This is the right person." So I know a couple people I know folks are a bit confused. My final date when I fully step down and I hand out my keys or whatever, my fob, is June of 25. But starting, Rabbi Werber will be beginning her position as Rabbi Chief Executive. That's our title for the position that I hold. Some congregations would call it a senior rabbi. We wanted to be very specific about the nature of the job. So she starts August 1st of this year, and I'll still be around. I think a lot of folks are not a little bit unclear about that. I won't have as a robust as role as I've had. She'll be responsible for the administration of the congregation. I'll still be participating in holidays, some adult education, some life cycle events limited. I'll be limiting them as I go. So I think
those will be her decision. She'll be the decision maker, and you will be kind of acting as consultant support for her in ways that she's, wanting you to. And I feel like we're so fortunate on both sides. We're so fortunate that you had the foresight and the comfort level to be able to give us this flexibility to be able to do it this way. That you are so invested in the future of the congregation that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And so to be that flexible to say, look, if we find someone, I will step back and to whatever degree I need to for the new rabbi to really take their place, and that you were willing to do that. And we're lucky that Rabbi Werber is really wanting you to be involved. She's really wanting that mentorship and consultation from you. So because she's so invested in the success of this transition. So I just feel like we kind of get the best of both worlds.
And I want to remind folks, she actually was a rabbinic intern here.
Yes, right.
And literally when we dedicated the building, which I sort of remember, but we were doing some work. We're getting ready for the service to welcome her. And I was looking at the dedication of the building service, and I'm very specific how I mark things up. And I found the reading that she did. So I think we're going to use that, and then we're going to use that in the service of welcome. Cool. We thought there would be a nice sort of symmetry bookend it. So what happens next? Now Rabbi Werber's on board. She's coming August 1st. I'm cleaning out my office. Anyone want some books? I got a few extra books. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put. Can't take them to my condo. So what happens next?
So really, I mean, from the search committee point of view, like I said, we're in the phase 3 part which is all the events, all the cultural transition events. And we're so lucky to have Kip Hatcher. She's kind of been the cultural transition lead, working really closely with Sandy McAvey as we call her Kip's deputy. She's been doing really incredible project management work. And so we've got the May 5th, like you mentioned, we've got the end of religious school event. And that's really because that'll be your last official day of religious school is RCE. Right. And so we're marking that with this event and this party that everyone's invited to. But it's really, that's what it's focused on is, celebrating your educational contributions to the congregation.
And two favorite activities are going to be that day. We're going to have a magician.
Magic.
I love magic. That has been cleaning out my office. I found some of the old magic tricks that I used to do. And my son and daughter are in my office, and I was showing them the tricks that I couldn't do them so well, but at least we're going to have a magician, and we're doing spin art, which is that like when you drip a paint on a spinny thing. I've always liked that. So those two things are part. And then we have
something I did not know about you until we started planning this event. So, that's part of the fun of this is learning more about you as you're retiring. So we have that event. It's from 11 to 1 on May 5th. And that again is just, to honor your educational contributions and mark the end of this religious school year, and it being the final year for you as RCE over religious school. Mm-hmm. And then we've got the next big event is going to be November 15th. And that is what's often called an installation ceremony, although, of course, in Beth Adam style, we're not going to be calling it that because Rabbi Werber is not an appliance. Right. And we're not installing her into the congregation. Right, exactly. So, but we have the liturgy team has been reconstituted. We've got some new members, and that's being led by Harriet Edwards, with under your oversight, because that's our.
And Rabbi Werber, she's very involved. We've been meeting.
Right, yes, and Rabbi Werber is very involved. Because we want it to reflect her. Right. And the RCE is, really kind of, it has oversight of the liturgy team. So the liturgy team has already started working to write a special Havdalah.
It's going to be a Friday night.
It's going to be a Friday night. So it's a special Shabbat service to welcome her officially and kind of have her officially recognized as the new RCE. So that's a Friday, November 15th. It'll be at 7:30 in the evening. It'll be probably about an hour or so. And then there'll be a dessert and champagne oneg following to just having some time together informally. Mm-hmm. So that's November 15th. And then the next event is April 23rd. That is a community event. So that's not for the congregation. That is to so that all of the other rabbis in town, other, like clergy that you are connected with, other, like political folks, other stakeholders, community stakeholders that have been important for you, and that where you have been an important influence in their organizations. It'll be like a kind of open time, happy hour from 5 to 7 for them to come and have some time with you. And that's again April 23rd and open to those special invitees. And then we have the special congregation tribute. So that's like the big final event that the whole congregation will be invited to, and that is June 14th of 25, and that's a Saturday evening. The liturgy team is writing a special Havdalah service for that. It's that evening is going to be to honor both you and Terry Barr, because the two of you together really helped build this, and it couldn't have happened without Terry's support.
Right.
And the ways in which she's contributed to the congregation all these years alongside with you. So that evening will be to honor both of you. It's going to be at Cooper's Creek in Blue Ash. There will be formal invitations that go out ahead, plenty of time ahead,
Right.
but just to give people an understanding. And that, so we'll have a Havdalah service at Cooper's Creek, and then have a reception that will have like hors d'oeuvres and drinks and a jazz trio. And,
Wow.
Yeah, it should be, I think it'll be really nice. And there'll be like there'll be some speechifying that we won't do, it'll be brief because I know you guys don't like that a whole lot. So, but there will be some speechifying and a special gift that will be unveiled at that event. So I'm really excited about that, and we've got wonderful volunteers. Lisa Aders is so Carrie Resnick and Rachel Faust are really taking the lead for the May 5th event for the religious school. Lisa Aders is coordinating the whatever the installation is going to be called, and then Carolyn Gilbert is handling the community event, and then Merle Coyle has just been doing a phenomenal job with the big June congregational event.
So kudos to you for managing this. I mean, you have done a masterful job in organizing and managing and leading and in bringing so many people in. And it really is humbling to see how many people have invested so much time and energy in the process of selecting Rabbi Werber and finding the right next rabbi for Congregation Beth Adam, and then creating these events both to honor me and to celebrate her. It really it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. I think this is a really wonderful opportunity for the congregation. It's a chance for us to celebrate our 40 plus years of existence, to celebrate the vitality and the dynamism of this really unique institution. And it should be a really exciting year. It'll be a year, I think, there'll be times it'll be a little strange. I mean, we got to acknowledge, transitions are always a little bit, sometimes like putting on a coat. But, I've watched this congregation from its very inception, and we've had bumps in the road, and we've had challenges, and we've had opportunities. And we have the institution, everyone has a commitment to the institution that has seen us through, and I know will see us into an amazing, amazing future. And I'm very excited about the year ahead. I'm excited about all the different events we're going to have. So, I really appreciate you sharing this. Those of you watching and participating online, just check those dates out. And if you're in Cincinnati and you're a member of the congregation, we want to welcome you to them. So, Maureen, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself. You take care.
I will. Thanks. Appreciate it.
I'm so impressed with the process the congregation went to select Rabbi Werber. It was a comprehensive process. Many people involved, very reflective. It really demonstrates the intensity, the strength, the values of this congregation. I'm excited about what's happening. There's a lot going on. I hope that you can participate in some of it. Some of it will be we have to be here in person because there are going to be celebrations that are in person. Perhaps some of you who are members of our congregation that live in other towns will decide to come in for one of those different events. It's really a unique time in the history of Beth Adam. If you've not met Rabbi Werber, there is a Shabbat service that she and I recorded together. Just go back in the streaming services, and you can see the conversation that she and I had right after she was hired. I'm really pleased that she was willing to do it. I'm so excited. I am challenged by, as I mentioned, cleaning out my office, and I have a bunch of books. If you're looking for books, I got some extra ones. And I hope that you join us in this year to come. It's going to be exciting, dynamic year, a year of opportunity for all of us. And I am absolutely looking forward to it. So we're going to continue our service with the sharing of the wine. We celebrate the fruit of the wine and the bounty of nature as we lift the cup. For we're part of nature. It gave us birth and continues to sustain us. Even as we depend upon nature, so do we influence its course. Through the search for wisdom, we are guided by the knowledge to shape our world, guided by the best of human wisdom, the compassion of our experience, of our spirit. We accept the responsibility which rests upon us. May the taste of the wine or juice upon our lips stir within us a reverence for nature and a respect for human endeavor. Bruchim chachayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim chachayim ba'adam, blessed is the life within each person. And we say, l'chaim, to life. So the best way to know what's going on at Congregation Beth Adam is to go to our website, bethadam.org, bethadam.org. There you'll see upcoming events, Shabbat services, adult education. As we're moving into the summer months, we have actually fewer activities, but there'll be streaming services certainly and hybrid services as well. So take a look. And if you're interested, you can go back in time. You can listen to that conversation that I had with Rabbi Werber a couple months ago. So continue to join with us in this year of opportunity. And we close with the words we end with each week. May we know blessings those who are near, and may we know blessings those who are far. May the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. May we know blessings through the day, and may we know blessings through the night. May health be for our children, and all things soon be right. May we know blessings in our comings. May we know blessings when we depart. May we live each day with peace and wisdom in each heart. Ken Yehi, let it be. Shabbat Shalom.